13 little-known facts about Jesus' crucifixion. 1. Jesus was crucified at the place of the skull. Jesus was crucified at a place called Golgotha. It's a hill just outside of Jerusalem. In Aramaic, Golgotha means place of the skull. The shape of the hill resembled a skull. The exact location of Golgotha is still debated. 2. Jesus was crucified naked. Many paintings depict him wearing a loincloth, but these images reflect later ideas of modesty. Romans always stripped prisoners before crucifixions. This humiliation was prophesied in Psalms. 3. Jesus was crucified in 33 AD. Most historians agree he was crucified on Friday, April 3, 33. This is confirmed by written contextual evidence. There's also some geological evidence to back it up. 4. There was an earthquake at that time. Of course, it is described in the Gospel of Matthew. And when Jesus had cried out again in a loud voice, he gave up his spirit. At that moment, the curtain of the temple was torn in two, from top to bottom. The earth shook, the rocks split, and the tombs broke open. The geological record shows signs of seismic activity during that time. 5. There was also a solar eclipse. A total eclipse of the sun occurred in the last 3 hours of Jesus' life. Many saw this as a sign of God's judgment. 6. Jesus died at 3 p.m. According to the Gospels, Jesus spent 6 hours nailed to the cross. 7. Jesus wasn't nailed through his hands and feet. The weight of an adult man couldn't be supported this way. Instead, nails were driven into his wrists and ankles. After a while, many victims' bones broke. However, Jesus died before that could happen. 8. Pontius Pilate actually found Jesus not guilty. Pilate couldn't find any Roman law that Jesus had broken. It was the Jewish leaders who asserted that he was guilty. They declared that Jesus' claim to be the Son of God was blasphemy. Fearing reprisals, Pilate overturned his original decision. He ultimately sentenced Jesus to death. 9. The arrest and trial of Jesus were illegal. Jewish law stated that trials could not be held during festivals. Death sentences could not be reached in a day. The accused were permitted counsel for defense. The trial took place at Caiaphas' house, not in a courtroom. All this was in direct violation of Jewish laws. 10. Barabbas wasn't a robber. The criminal crucified next to Jesus wasn't a thief. It's a mistranslation from ancient Greek. Barabbas was actually an insurrectionist. Basically, he was a resistance fighter against the Romans. 11. Crucifixion wasn't a Roman invention. This practice can be traced back to the Assyrians. During the 6th century BC, the Persians often used crucifixion. Alexander the Great borrowed this idea. The Romans picked it up from the Greeks. 12. Roman crucifixion was the final torture. Jesus was publicly beaten, mocked, and spat on. He was made to wear a crown of thorns. He had to carry the cross on his back. All this abuse was common before a crucifixion. Most victims were stripped naked, flogged, taunted, and mutilated. 13. Jesus' burial was significant. Most crucified people weren't buried. The bodies were usually left in a garbage dump. Joseph of Arimathea personally asked Pilate to make an exception.